What is up, Edison duelists? This is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, coming at you guys today with some more shameless hype beast Gigavise content. And what I want to address in this video is one of the most important things you need to consider when you're playing Edison format, and that is Gorz, the Emissary of Darkness. This is a very powerful card that can definitely impede your ability to win the game. It can protect your opponents from your powerful pushes. I also think just its place in Edison format is fantastic. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Really started to go astray when Gorz stopped being a relevant card. I think it's one of the most well-designed cards ever in the game. I think it punishes a specific kind of deck. It allows other specific kinds of decks to exist. I think it's really balanced because it requires you to have no other cards on your field. I am such a fan of Gorz, and the fact that Gorz exists and is so good in Edison format is one of my favorite parts of the format. So I've got a couple games for you guys where we do have to deal with Gorz. So we'll see how we do it. We'll see if Gorz just absolutely dunks on us because we didn't play around it, or we'll see if, hey, maybe Gigavise is a deck that is so strong it just doesn't care about Gorz. You'll have to watch to find out, and you'll definitely want to watch this video to the end because I do have a special treat for you guys at the very end of the video. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So we've opened a all right hand. I'm always happy to see a back row sweeper, a supervise, and then we have half of a lone fire here, and then maybe another kind of half of a lone fire with the Gigaplant. So definitely a lot of potential. Let's see if we can get there to win the game. I'm just going to set the Mirror Force and pass it off to our opponent. We see they now have drawn the Gorz. So this is definitely going to be one of those games that I'm talking about. Our opponent is just going to set the MST and pass. I think that's a fantastic way to kind of protect himself. And now we draw the Foolish Burial. And I could just fire the Heavy Storm right now and then try and make a push. But I'm feeling, I'm feeling a little saucy, folks. I'm thinking, well, maybe we can get a little value out of the Mirror Force. Maybe we can get an idea of what he's playing. I don't feel like I'm going to lose right away if he's just doing set one pass. So I'm going to be a little greedy here and just let our opponent go and take one more turn. And he is just going to set a single card and then pass it back to us. So now I'm thinking, okay, time's up. Let's go ahead. He's just setting and passing. Before things get too out of hand, let's fire the Mirror Force. I see that I'm hitting a Mystical Space Typhoon, so I'm definitely glad that I did that. We're going to Foolish Burial to send the Dandelion and get our 2 tokens, and then we get Super Solar Nutrient as our way into Lone Fire Blossom. From here, we can go ahead and Lone Fire into another Lone Fire into Gigaplant. Give that Gigaplant the Supervise, and then Lone Fire is going to go ahead and get us a Copy Plant here. I have plenty of follow-up in case things miss, but I also do just want to try and close out the game as quickly as possible. Are going to get a Gigaplant back, and then we are going to Power Tool Dragon, revealing 2 Supervises and a Mark of the Rose. We're okay getting the Mark of the Rose, but 66% does round up to 100%. So of course, folks, we get that Supervise. We're going to equip the Supervise to Gigaplant, and then here we are going to Lone Fire Blossom for Nettles. That's right, folks. We are going into Mistworm with that extra token that we have, clearing that set monster away. I don't care if it's a Raikou. I don't care what it is. I want it gone. Supervise is going to bring back Gigaplant, and because we have not yet used our normal summon, we are going to be able to get the Lone Fire Blossom back and turn it into a Titanial. So here we have a whole bunch of damage on board, and we are just going to go ahead and swing in. You're going to want to play low to high. I know most of you guys know this, but if you are maybe coming into Edison from Modern and you're not sure the best way to play around Gorz, you always just want to attack low to high. If I attacked with the Titanial first, he'd just be able to drop Gorz and have a big token. We wouldn't be able to get over it. So low to high is the way to go. I've also noticed, honestly, in Modern, a lot of times people still attack low to high, even though Gorz is definitely gone. So interesting to see how much psychic damage the lad has inflicted over all these years. Our opponent is going to wait until the last possible moment to drop Gorz, wanting to get the strongest token that he can. I think that's definitely totally fine. As we can see, he's got the Moray, he's got that Fishborg, he's got the Salvage, and now a Foolish Burial even. So he's definitely going to be able to try and get something going with his frog combos. He'll fire the moray first. He can always get that Fishborg back, and now we are seeing him draw into a swap frog and another salvage, and then he does have the foolish burial. So he is just going to go ahead and be able to foolish the Fishborg blaster away, and then normal summon the swap frog, which is then going to allow him to send a dupe frog. And now he is going to have salvage live, so he will be able to discard or get the Fishborg and the dupe frog back. He's going to return that swap frog to his hand, do normal summon a second time for a dupe frog, and then now he is going to discard the Fishborg blaster to special summon the swap frog, return the swap frog to his hand to get another normal summon, and then he is going to fire a second salvage to get Fishborg and dupe frog back once again. And now he does have a dupe lock up, and he is going to be able to clear our Gigaplant. So if we didn't have any strong follow-up, then I think this would definitely be a really good spot for him to be in. He's also going to get a Substitute into the mix, and fortunately he doesn't have enough monsters getting into the graveyard to be able to fire the Pot of Avarice just yet, but he is definitely presenting a credible threat. Unfortunately for him, we do draw into the Mark of the Rose. We could have gotten into it with our Power Tool Dragon or just searched it with Hidden Armory, and that is going to be all we need to win this first game. So here you saw that if you have a strong board that has a like a Titanial up against something like Frogs, even though they're going to survive on Gorz, they're not going to be able to kill you or even clear your entire board, and then you can clap back. So definitely right there, it is all right. I think there might have been an even better way to play into Gorz and maybe even win on that turn. I think also, of course, if we had just gone off one turn earlier, instead of giving him the time to set that the Treeborn Frog, then we also might have been able to do a better job of playing through Gorz. But nevertheless, we still won that first game, and now we are going to go right into game number 2. So let's see how we handle this. We're opening, again, another kind of almost there type of hand, just a Super Solar Nutrient. We'll let that Nettles turn into a Lone Fire. We have the Supervise for it. The Mark of the Rose is always a welcome sight. That's going to help us break through any dupe locks or anything like that a little bit easier. We do draw into the Giant Trunade, and then we fire the first Upstart Goblin. Would you look at that? We found our Super Solar Nutrient. I'm going to hold off on using the second one because I have everything I need to combo here. I want to go ahead and do my full combo and then use the second Upstart and see if maybe we can draw into something that's going to insulate us, like a Threatening Roar, like a Raigeki Break, something like that. So, you know, our combo does thin the deck. Not quite as much as the Frog combo does, but it definitely does thin the deck quite a bit, and that is something to consider. So we're just going to Gigaplant here, give it a Supervise, and then simply put, we're just going to get the Titanial. No sense in being greedy. This is Frogs. Titanial does a lot to stop all their OTKs, and if we're really looking to live another turn, getting the Titanial up is a fantastic way to do that. We are going to attack first with the Titanial, respecting Gorz. I do want to get in for the damage with the Gigaplant. However, I don't want him to get a 2800 attack token. So we'll run over that Fishborg Blaster. Never excited to see that, especially without a DD Crow or anything. The Frog deck really does need that Fishborg Blaster, but once they have it, they can do Cold Fusion. And now we are going to see our opponent do just that. He's going to normal summon that Substitute, discard the Dandelion for the Fishborg Blaster, and I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go. I'm feeling all right because it seems like he can't quite out the Titanial. He does go into a Bryo first to waste the Gigavise combo. So now I just have these two monsters. My board is considerably less sticky. He's going to continue flooding the field with little tiny water monsters, going into a Unifrog now, and then back into Fishborg Blaster to make Colossal Fighter. Colossal Fighter is going to be able to completely clear my board because he did waste that 1-8 by making the Bryo. And now in main phase 2, our opponent is going to go one more time, summon the Fishborg Blaster, and then put up a nice soft dupe lock. And this is definitely a threat. Colossal Fighter is a tough card to get over. Even though we still can attack, because he only has the one dupe frog, it can't be destroyed by battle. So we are definitely in trouble here. We are going to need to find a way to win. And what do we draw for turn? We draw a Forbidden Chalice. That could be a really big help. So, I know you guys love when we do this. We are going to say that this is going to be the first puzzle of this video. Take a second, pause the video, think about what line you would take to win the game. Give you a couple seconds, make sure you did it. 3, 2, 1. All right, let me show you what we do here. I think this is a really, really cool line. Not the hardest thing to spot, but if you don't think of it, hey, now you'll know. We're going to first fire the Mark of the Rose and take the Dupe Frog. That's right, folks, the Dupe Frog. Then we'll switch the Dupe Frog to attack position. And now, here's where it gets really cool. We're going to use the Giant Trunade, returning the Mark of the Rose to our hand and giving him back the Dupe Frog, which is now in attack position. Now, we do have our DDR, so we can discard that Chalice. We don't need that. Bring back Gigaplant, normal summon Gigaplant, bring back Titanial, and now Mark of the Rose to steal Colossal Fighter. And that is going to be just 100 points extra. It is so good that we did get that attack in with Gigaplant, because that is going to bring our opponent low enough that these 3 monsters can run over him for game. So that is the first match I have for you. And let's jump right into the second. This looks like it is up against Amaryllis. I've noticed the Amaryllis decks really love playing Lord Poison these days. Lord Poison is a bad card. I'm just going to say it. It's like a recruiter that needs setup. Just terrible. Anyways, our opponent is going to set a Sangan. We'll fire an Upstart Goblin. And yikes, we do not have anything going just quite yet. I don't know what they're on. I don't want to just set a Torrential into a Raikou. So we are just going to pass it back to our opponent, who is going to draw a Card Trooper. Definitely not something I want to be torrentialing. And then here we see maybe the best way to answer Gorz is just have your opponent mill it. Once they mill Gorz, you don't have to respect it anymore, because there's only one legal. It's in the graveyard. You don't have to worry about it. Our opponent is going to swing in with that Sangan for 1,000 points of damage, and then another 19 from the Card Trooper, and pass it back to us. And here we go, folks. We did find our way to Lonefire Blossom, so let us do a little bit of comboing, shall we? We're going to go Lonefire into Lonefire here, go for a Gigaplant, and now activate a Supervise, bring back the Lonefire. Now here, folks, we are going to go for Power Tool Dragon. We have the DDR, so I'm not afraid to miss, but of course we never miss. 66% rounds up to 100%. That's right, folks. Every single time you use Power Tool Dragon, revealing 2 of one equip and 1 of another, you're going to get the one that you reveal 2 of. See? Look at that. We got the Supervise. So we are now going to activate that Supervise and go for Copy Plant once again. I am trying to push for damage. I am trying just to get in really, really strong here. We do have the Torrential Tribute, so even though our opponent's going to get to draw a card and search a card, I'm hoping that they're either not going to be able to break our board, or if they have something so threatening that it does break our board, Torrential Tribute answers it, and then we can crack back on the next turn with Miracle Fertilizer or DDR. So definitely feeling really strong. Here we're going to reveal the 1 Supervise and the 2 Mark of the Rose, and what do we get? Get the Mark of the Rose. See, folks, 66% really does round up to 100%. Here I'm going to fire the Mark of the Rose now. I've seen that he is on Titanial, so I want to make sure that I can banish the Lonefire and get a little bit of value out of it. We're also going to take the Sangan. This is going to prevent him from searching for a Titanial, and in fact, we are just going to be pushing for game right here. We see that our opponent does not have Gorz, so we can freely just go ahead and go real wide here. Unless they're playing like Battle Fader or something, they can't stop us. So that is going to be it. Our opponent is going to draw their card for Card Trooper, and it is going to be no help as we swing in comfortably to win the game on this turn. So there you have it, folks. Now let's go right into game 2 and see how our opponent handles us post-side decking. Here, once again, we have Lonefire Supervise in hand, a Threatening Roar to boot, so I am feeling fantastic about this. We do draw into the Future Fusion, and I do decide to hold the Future Fusion. It looks like I don't need it to combo, so I'm kind of thinking, oh, well, I don't want to necessarily put the the tokens on field right away. I'm also going to go right into a Stardust Dragon here. I know Amma definitely is on Raikou sometimes, so I want to play around that. And then we are going to Stardust attack. It is a Dandelion, so we are going to leave our opponent with a token. I do feel that Stardust is a little safer here because we have the Threatening Roar. If I didn't have that, I definitely wouldn't be making Stardust into Titanial. But in this case we do. We're going to Gold Sark to get a Fertilizer. And then because I don't see any value in having tokens, it's not like it's Dandelion, I am going to hold the Future Fusion. I think this is a big mistake, especially now that we've thinned our deck. There is a chance that we draw that Neos Alias, which we don't really want to see, and then Future Fusion is going to be a dead card. But surely that won't happen, right? 1 in 32, that rounds down to 0. Our opponent is going to hit an Armory, and they are going to hit a Dandelion off of that, which is just fantastic for them. They'll get a Mark of the Rose to their hand, and they are going to be able to Mark of the Rose to take our Stardust Dragon. That definitely doesn't feel good. We're going to Threatening Roar to preserve our Gigaplant. Our opponent is going to fire another Hidden Armory to get a DDR to their hand. Fortunately, they've only banished a Dandelion, so that is not the most threatening DDR in the world. Nevertheless, I'm not exactly stoked to see it. Our opponent is then going to go ahead and Foolish Burial to get the Amaryllis online, and the Amaryllis is going to banish that Titanial, so now DDR is presenting a very credible threat. Not something we can answer, and would you look at that, we drew the Neos Alias. Definitely a misplay to not use the Future Fusion. I think especially when you're being admittedly kind of greedy, only playing one hero, if you see the Future Fusion, you gotta use it. You gotta use it. There's no two ways about it. Here we're going to normal summon the Gigaplant and go for a Nettles, and we are going to just run over all 3 of the tokens, and then we are going to go ahead and make a Black Brute Drago. Really unfortunate here that we don't have a good way to get the Stardust off the field, so our opponent is going to get it back, and then we're just going to set that Future Fusion as a bluff, as that is the only value it still has for us. I make the Brute Drago here because that's not something that Titanial can easily answer. The Amaryllis decks, I think, do have a lot of trouble getting over that sticky 3000 body. Our opponent is going to normal summon the Card Trooper, mill 3 1-of traps, which is just really fantastic for us. He's going to attack the Stardust into our Brute Drago just to get it out of the mix off the field. And now that Lightning Vortex is feeling just a little bit more live, he is going to just set a Solemn Judgment and pass it back to us. So we are going to draw into Lightning Vortex, and we do get a Miracle Fertilizer to our hand. That's not going to be the most useful thing right now. I really want to wait until I can find like a Hidden Armory or another Supervise to play that. So we are just going to go ahead and try and kill his board. We'll summon that Neos Alias, and then we will run over the Amma, putting both of us down 800 fewer life points. Our opponent does draw into Lord Poison after that Card Trooper gets destroyed, and we are going to pass back in not the best position, especially now that our opponent has drawn the Lone Fire Blossom. So he's going to go right ahead, fire Lone Fire twice to put Titanial on the field, and then Titanial is just going to attack right over Neos Alias. He is then going to pass it back to us after summoning another Amaryllis. So here we are definitely getting pretty low, but we draw into the Hidden Armory, which is just fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to wait one more turn. If I hadn't set that Future Fusion, I'd be able to just, Lightning Vortex right now. He'd probably Judgment that, and then Fertilizer our Hidden Armory is definitely going to go through. What can you do, folks? We have just clearly, completely mismanaged the Future Fusion here. I do think this card has potential, but not when you play it like this, folks. So we are just going to attack over the Titanial. Our opponent has drawn into Morphing Jar, which is definitely going to be a problem if he's able to resolve that. We're feeling kind of behind, and his position just keeps getting stronger. So now he is going to go ahead and fire the Lightning Vortex. That's going to clear our Black Brute Drago, and he's going to have that Titanial up, which is going to be able to beat over the Gigaplant we bring back, and then he is also going to get in for a total of 3000 damage off that Amaryllis. So we're definitely kind of in trouble here, folks. He's going to set the Morphing Jar, so he's ready to refill his hand. And now we are going to get the Amaryllis to deal with in addition to the Titanial. We draw into Mirror Force, and this is another time where I'm just feeling like, oh man, probably correct to go ahead and Lightning Vortex here, but discarding that Mirror Force never feels good. And our opponent is going to let the lightning vortex go through, so I'm feeling like, all right, we're so back, right? We fire the fertilizer, and here comes the solemn judgment. Feels bad, man. We have the hidden armory, which is going to get us to a Mark of the Rose, but this is, I think you can tell folks, this is definitely a desperation attempt, especially when our opponent draws something excellent like fertilizer, and then gets to refill his hand with 5 new cards. We've kind of been through a lot of our combo pieces, so there is not a lot of good stuff that we can draw. Even with that Lone Fire Blossom, Super Solar Nutrients, and the Foolish Burial, none of this is going to help us live, and our opponent is just going to be able to flip up the Miracle Fertilizer and walk in for game. So now let's go to game 3. Never a position I like to be in. I just like to win my games 2-0. And here we go. Our opponent does have Gorz. And in addition to that, we're actually going to have the Trap Dust Shoot. So this is one of the best answers to Gorz. You just get to look at your opponent's hand and get rid of the Gorz right away. We draw into Neos Alias, which is never great to see. And then we have a couple equips and a fertilizer, which are just going to sit a little useless in our hand. So we're going to go ahead and fire the Trap Dust Shoot, and actually, looking at our opponent's hand, we're going to decide to get rid of the Sandgan. I definitely think this is correct here. We have something like Torrential Tribute, so even if he wants to use his Gorz early on a 1900, we're fine with that. We can Torrential on a follow-up. What I really don't want my opponent doing is getting into Lone Fire Blossom, especially with the Call of the Haunted up. Sandgan is just looking too threatening, so we're going to get rid of the Sandgan there. Now our opponent, if they want to go like Foolish Burial, Lone Fire, set Call, something like that, they could. But we are just going to prefer to make them spend all those resources. They'll pass back to us. We'll draw another Super Solar Nutrient, so that's one step closer to combo. That opens up a lot more cards that we could draw that will be able to get us there. And now we are just going to pass back. I know he has a Gorz. I do have the Torrential, but I'd rather not play into Gorz so hard. So this is the other thing with playing around Gorz. Even though we had Dust Shoot and we chose to leave it in his hand, now we know it's there, so we're not going to be able to push into it unless we're confident that we're going to win. Now here we are going to fire the Gold Sarcophagus, and we are going to banish the Lone Fire. And now I am a little concerned that this is another Morphing Jar, so you can see me kind of setting everything to play around it. And here we find out that it is in fact a Botanical Girl, which is another interesting plant. It's actually going to get him to the Lord Poison. If Botanical Girl could add Lone Fire Blossom, this would be like a fantastic card, and we'd definitely be playing it. But instead, it looks like he's just going to add Lord Poison, which is not the greatest thing. Main phase 2, we are going to fire that DDR and try and go ahead and put up a board now that our opponent has been proven to not have the Morphing Jar. So we'll DDR, discarding that Super Solar Nutrient. We're not going to need that because we have both of our Lone Fires in the mix. Get our Gigaplant, give Gigaplant a Supervise, and then we are going to Lone Fire for Copy Plant. I still have a normal summon available, so I'm just trying to generate a little more advantage here with the Power Tool Dragon. We'll bring back the Gigaplant, and then Power Tool Dragon is going to reveal 3 equips. Let's see what we get. That's strange. I'm checking my math. That actually seems incorrect. I think that 66% should have rounded up to 100. Weird. Anyways, we don't care that we missed because we can just normal summon the Gigaplant and then bring back the Lone Fire Blossom. And here we are actually going to go ahead and go into the Brute Drago. Again, I think Brute Drago is really nice to make against the Titanial deck. I know it's going to be good into the Mirror Force that we saw off of Trap Dust Shoot, and it's not something that's going to get beat over by Titanial. And again, we do have the Torrential and the Miracle Fertilizer, so if we Torrential something and then Brute Drago brings back the Gigaplant, that's a fantastic position to find ourselves in. So our opponent is going to set 2 cards, and then we are going to get to draw another Miracle Fertilizer, which is really just a absolutely fantastic draw. Here we are going to go ahead and fire the Power Tool Dragon. We miss once again for DDR, but that's really not so bad because we do have the Mark of the Rose. We're going to consider our options here, and we are going to choose to use the fertilizer right now. We'll bring back the Copy Plant, and we're going to make a Stardust Dragon to answer the Mirror Force that we know our opponent has. We're going to set some more of our hand, playing around the Morphing Jar once again. You know, if a Morphing Jar resolves here, it gives us 5 cards for free. That's going to be really fantastic. It is just the Lord Poison, which is a much more likely occurrence. I also just want to note we have the Stardust Dragon up, so I'm not worried about losing to Heavy Storm here. Lord Poison is going to bring back the Botanical Girl, and our opponent is going to get another search in the form of a Dandelion this time. And then here we are just going to swing in for big damage with the Brute Drago. Our opponent doesn't want to fire the Mirror Force into the Stardust Dragon, so he is going to let that through, going down to 5,000 points of damage. And here he is going to continue to wall up, setting the Call of the Haunted, setting a Dandelion. So really just trying to live. Drawing those 3 Amaryllis there is going to be really unfortunate for him. Now here, I am going to go ahead and say that we've drawn the Trunade, so I'm feeling pretty good about it, and we are just going to try and milk this Trunade for everything that we can. So we're going to go ahead and fire the Miracle Fertilizer right now. And at this point, we've seen that the Nettles is going to survive. So let's take a second and pause the video and show me how you guys would go ahead and try and win the game on this turn, knowing that our opponent has Gorz. 3, 2, 1. Let me show you how we did it. So we're going to fire the Trunade now, getting that Fertilizer back to our hand, which is going to be just fantastic, as well as the Torrential, the Mark of the Rose, and the DDR. And we are going to go ahead and, at this point, Synchro 6 for Brionac. That's right, folks, a little bit of Brionac action. We'll discard the Torrential Tribute to get the Dandelion back to hand, and then fire the Miracle Fertilizer to bring back the Lone Fire Blossom. At this point, we are going to Brio, discarding the DDR, and getting the Fertilizer back to hand so we can use it one more time. It's going to get us the Copy Plant, and we're not going to use Copy Plant's effect or anything. We are just going to go right ahead and make an Armory Arm, and then equip that Armory Arm to Brute Drago. And here, since our opponent is at 5,000 attack points, or life points rather, we are going to swing in first with the Brionac. They take 2,300, and then if they drop the Gorz, Brute Drago could just run over the Gorz and deal 2,700 damage off of Armory Arm's effect. If he didn't have the Gorz, or if he decides to not drop it, then of course we just attack for game directly. No problem. So I hope this helps. Of course, our opponent already was a little low, so it was really easy to play through Gorz here. But getting Armory Arm onto your monster so then you can get that 2,700 guaranteed damage, even if they drop Gorz, is really fantastic, and it definitely is an option that you should consider in your games. Well, folks, I did say that I had a special treat for you guys at the end, and I was not capping. I actually queued up into ladder against the one, the only, the true party king, one of the premier Amaryllis plant duelists. So let me just real quickly run through this game and show you guys how it went. We opened really, really strong because, hey, you know, we're just a really powerful plant duelist like that. And, you know, the universe saw fit to reward us for not playing terrible cards like Mystic Tomato. So we are going to Gold Sark into Lone Fire, DDR discarding Dandelion, Super Solar for another Lone Fire here, get out the Titanial. We're going to supervise the Gigaplant into Lone Fire Blossom. Lone Fire Blossom effect gets us Copy Plant, and then we are going to Synchro 7 for a Power Tool Dragon, which is going to let Supervise bring back Gigaplant, and then Power Tool is going to reveal 2 Supervises and a DDR. I'm fine with whatever we get, but of course we do get the Supervise. Here I'm going to choose to hold the Supervise, and then we're just going to normal summon Gigaplant into Stardust. Our opponent is going to set 2 on our next turn. We are going to make Mistworm to put everything back, and then Supervise is going to win us the game. Game 2, here we go. Let's see how we handle this. Once again, we draw Broken, Heavy Storm, Lone Fire, Supervise is just fantastic to see. We're going to Lone Fire into Lone Fire, into Gigaplant, and then we do have that Mark of the Rose to get rid of Titanial, and then from here we can just freely combo with Power Tool Dragon into Gigaplant, to the AAU in case we miss, and we do miss, but that's just fine. We'll AAU into Titanial, so not quite enough for game, but definitely a big threatening board for our opponent to try and deal with, and he is unable to do so. So that was just a real quick match. We definitely opened super broken, both of those games. No hate, all love to True Party King. But, you know, that's the thing about the GIGAVISE versus AMA matchup is if we open strong, we're just going to win before AMA can get anything going. And that's just the way it is. It's the better plant deck. So anyways, I hope you guys learned a little bit about how to handle Gorz when you are playing GIGAVISE, or maybe even you apply it to other decks that you're playing. I hope you guys win a lot of duels. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you tomorrow with more shameless, hype beast GIGAVISE content. By the way, don't forget to subscribe, like, leave a comment, all that stuff. I see it, I really appreciate it, and it does mean a lot to me. Take care, everyone.